Hello and welcome to the Snowflake Spotlight. I'm your host, Caveman Only, and this is a podcast series where I interview one unique Ironman in the old school RuneScape community each episode, diving deep to examine the intricacies of their special Snowflake account. But to start, let's spend a second on the sellout segment that sustains and supports the Snowflake Spotlight. There are so many scenarios to suggest using OSRS bestinslot.com. From slaying Cerberus to slaughtering Saradomin, there are scads of substantive suggestions and setups for every single boss skirmish. Scroll and select your switches, study the shift in stats, and surmise which specific setup is superior. So seize this second and stop over at osrsbestinslot.com for its substantial sum of specialized support. Also, subscribe to my channel for saturating this sponsor statement with as many S sounds as possible. For today's episode, I have with me a jack of many trades and one of my all-time favorite Snowflakes. He's the owner of a maxed Mage Only Ironman, a Zeah Only Ironman with 175 million total experience, and the former rank 1 3 combat slayer, Mr. Tedious. Tedious, welcome to the podcast, man. Really appreciate you being here today.
Hello there. Thanks for having me.
As always, I think you know what the first question is. How is the weather in the faraway land of Zeah today?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm not at Wintertot right now, so far away from the snow, so everything's pretty sunny over here.
Well, that's kind of surprising given that, 120 million of your 175 million XP is at Wintertot.
Yeah. Yep. Something like that.
Great. Anyway, hey, thanks for being here again, man. I really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and dive right in, why don't we, man? So first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, how long you've been playing RuneScape.
So I am from Belgium, and I've been playing RuneScape from when I was about 10 or 11 years old. So I believe it was about 2004. And basically, like, two of my friends from class came across RS. I'm pretty sure they found it on Miniclip at the time, because that was pretty much like the hot site for all of the gaming we did it back in the day. So and they were playing a bit before everyone else, and they sort of mentioned it at some point that they were playing this new cool game they found. So we all just jumped on it, and yeah, it's pretty much kept me going ever since.
I think with all of these podcasts, there is a running thread here of once you find RuneScape, you're here forever, and so you might as well find a way to enjoy it. That's my mantra. Well, great, man. So another RuneScape veteran. They actually just released some information today. I don't know if you saw this on the RuneScape, on the 2007scape subreddit, but the average RuneScape player history is 8 years. So like the average RuneScape player has been playing the game for 8 years, which is pretty astonishing.
Yeah, I saw something about that. Like, they did a big research. I think it was mainly RuneScape 3. But yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, so talk to me about your old school specific history. So I imagine, did you fall in the boat like many others when EOC came out? You weren't about it, and so how did you pick up old school RuneScape when that first came out?
I'm pretty sure I quit the original RuneScape a little bit sooner than most. I think I played until around the release of Dungeoneering, and now I'm not sure when that was exactly. But that's when I left RuneScape for a long time and mostly focused towards Call of Duty and also League of Legends later on. But then once they started talking about old school RuneScape, and they did like the whole survey where you had to, vote on getting old school RuneScape back.
Right.
That's pretty much when I got interested again.
Okay.
Ever since old school got released, I pretty much kept playing it, even though I took some small breaks in between to play some League of Legends again. But yeah, basically right on the release day, I was straight on it.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like me, you, and a whole lot of other people in the community as well. Now, because I know you quite well, I know that you have been in the Snowflake Ironman scene in RuneScape for actually quite a bit longer than I have. So talk to me about your personal Snowflake Ironman history now. So I believe, if I'm correct, that you first started with a Mage Only Ironman. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so my Mage Only Ironman, which is now called Trident, I originally started it as, I believe, a Mage Apart, because before that my main was called A Man Apart. So when I made this account, I pretty much took the same name but gave it a little spin. And that was in 2015. Now, before this, I had already played an unofficial Ironman earlier as well.
Oh,
Around
did you
the
really?
same time.
I don't think I knew that, actually.
Yeah. So around the same time that Bodhi and Foe were playing theirs, I also made my own, and I was mainly hanging out in Iron Foe CC for a very long time.
Hmm.
And that's also what got me the name Tedious, by the way, because Adam Bodhi, he
Hmm.
kept referring to certain things he was doing on his Iron Man as being so tedious for his account because,
Wow.
mining essence and whatnot.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I actually took the name So Tedious for my unofficial Iron Man,
I love
and
that.
it's
Great.
sort of stuck to me ever since. So that's pretty much where my name came
Wow.
from.
And
Um,
does that still fit you today?
oh yeah, for sure. Like all of the
That's
things I
good.
do, a
Good,
lot
good,
of
good.
people often comment on my name because it's so fitting. But
Uh-huh.
yeah,
That's incredible. Okay.
so yeah, after that, I actually made an Ultimate Iron Man on the day of the official Iron Man modes release.
Mhm.
Um, And fun fact as well is that on the day of release, I was actually rank 1 for both Ultimate Ironman and normal Ironman in total level. So I got to around 480 total on the day of release before going to sleep, and I was
Wow.
still rank 1 for both with like
Serious gamer.
a lead of around 100 levels, I think. So it was pretty cool, but unfortunately, once I woke up, I dropped to like rank 5 or something, and over the course of the next month or so, I dropped off the front page and I decided to quit that account. But yeah, after quitting that Ultimate Ironman, I started a regular non-Ironman again. So it's sort of just a new main account.
Mhm.
Started off as a level 3 skiller, then turned it into a 1 defense account until I got 2 defense while killing Zulrah, unfortunately.
Oh, never lucky.
And then eventually just turn it into a main account, which I ended up burning out on and staking my bank before quitting, as usual.
Oh, Sand Casino strikes again, man. That's not
Yep,
good.
pretty much. So then I pretty much decided that I wanted to do something entirely new, something that would make me play the game in a very different way than I have before.
Mhm.
So I tried coming up with something and just churning over some ideas in my head. And yeah, eventually I just came up with the Mage Only ID, and I'm not really sure why. I didn't really have any certain reason as to why I was gonna go for that build, but I just sort of went with it, and yeah, that's pretty much where it all started.
Yeah, I mean, see, I'd be interested to know more about your thought process behind creating it. I know, for example, I get asked all the time about what spawned Caveman Only, but I kind of a similar answer to you where I don't really know. I mean, it was a combination of, burnout and I don't know, just kind of an idea hit me one day.
Mhm.
But the mage only Iron Man. So again, for those listening at home who don't know exactly what constitutes a mage only Iron Man.
Yeah, so basically the only base idea for the account was I wanted to stay 1 attack, 1 strength, and 1 range, and
Mhm.
see what I could get done with just using magic as my combat method. Um,
Yeah, that
yeah.
is absolutely wild. And you know, stat limited accounts have been around since the inception of RuneScape. With
Mhm.
pures being the most common form. With 1 defense or 45 or 70, whatever bracket they're trying to fill, and
Mhm.
the antithesis of that, which would be your average skiller, which pretty much refrains from combat and only trains non-combat skills, but to limit yourself to one specific part of the combat triangle, particularly the weakest part. I think inarguably magic is the weakest part of the combat triangle by a long
Oh
shot,
yeah, for
especially
sure.
in this day and age. It's like I don't know, like what what compelled you to decide to limit yourself so severely? Like was there anyone ahead of you who had done anything similar that you kind of took inspiration from?
Not really that I know of. I don't think at the time there were many Snowflake accounts, especially Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only one that was ahead of me was Karamja Only, to be
Mm-hmm.
like the first official restricted Iron Man. But I think I sort of took the idea that I had on my main account at first, where I was, a level 3 skiller into a 1 defense account. So I was sort of stat restricting myself in that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess I just took that idea to see what I could do with it on an Ironman, and just sort of find a way to make it really challenging. And yeah, I don't know. It's just something I went with.
Yeah, and that's totally acceptable. Sometimes it works out great that way. I mean, as I said in the intro, that your Trident, your Mage Only Iron Man, is like one of my absolute favorite Snowflake accounts of all time. Because first of all, how much you've been able to accomplish with it, which we'll get into a bit later. But it's just so simple and straightforward. A big turnoff for people about my account is that it's kind of convoluted, and I admit to that openly. But for you, it's
Yep.
just like, oh yeah, one attack, one strength, one range, and like that's basically it.
Yeah,
um,
it's really straightforward, and I think that's what makes it really appealing to others as well, because
mhm.
um, it doesn't take much explanation to understand what's going on. Like, it's pretty obvious. Like, I have one attack, one strength, one range, um, and it's really cool to see. So yeah.
Yeah. So how much planning went into this account? Did you just kind of like hop in blind with this general concept, or did you actually have like a route planned out for yourself where you had specific milestones that you wanted to accomplish off the bat?
Yeah, I didn't really put too much planning into the account. I just went in with the things I knew from previously doing another Ironman account, like I said, the unofficial one.
Mhm.
So I basically started off in a similar way that I did on that account, where I got agility up for graceful, and then I got 83 hunter to catch dragon implings to make money and get a glory, because that was
Mhm.
a pretty standard start at the time, without having winter thought and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I guess my main starter goal for the account, which was somewhat specific to the account type, was doing Mage Training Arena to get early best in slot items.
Mhm.
But that's basically the only planning ahead that I did for the account. Other than that, I just, did things as they came along, and yeah, set new goals every time.
Yeah, and that's the as it goes with snowflakes. I think if you don't have goals playing a snowflake, then you're you're kind of up the creek without a paddle, because I don't think you'll think it's very fun after much longer. Um,
Hmm.
so playing a mage only Iron Man again, obviously my first thing that comes to mind if I were to play an account like that is just like bossing in general, and just even just regular training. It's like how do you afford to be a mage only Iron Man, and what are some of the most like unexpected difficulties and hurdles that you encountered as a mage only Iron Man?
Yeah, general combat was pretty rough throughout the account, really. After I did some Mage Training Arena, I basically had the next goal of getting the Fury Amulet before starting combat. And I did that through crafting Air Battle Stave. So with that process, I made like, I think, 25 mil at the time.
Mhm.
And that pretty much gave me a lot of gold to use on combat. So I started off with doing Firebolt, which wasn't too costly. And then eventually, once I got my rune crafting level high enough, I was able to craft my own blood runes for Firewave. So I didn't really struggle for cash at all, until the point where I got 87 Slayer. Because, then I got my Trident,
Yeah,
and that's pretty costly to use.
yeah,
I had to like do certain things to make enough cash. So I sold blood runes that I crafted. I changed my Slayer task list in a certain way so that I would make enough money back from Slayer in order to sustain my Trident cost. So I had to really find a way to optimize my Slayer grind in that
yeah.
way.
Yeah, and I mean, spoiler alert for those who are listening at home that aren't familiar with your account, but you have gone and done it, in fact, and achieved 99 Slayer only through magic.
Yep.
I mean,
Was a fun grind, but definitely a hard one.
yeah, I imagine. I mean, hell, I did as many hours of Slayer as I've done on Caveman, with all forms of the combat triangle, and it's been pretty painful, and I'm just barely over halfway, but you did it all the way
Mhm.
to 99. Were there any events on Trident there throughout the account history that really just made you want to quit? Whether it was just like a grind that you thought was impossible, or a boss that you just couldn't kill. Like, what was that one moment that really just made you question your sanity?
Well, nothing really throughout the account made me want to quit. I did take some breaks here and there, but I never really decided to like fully give up on it when I had a certain grind that I couldn't do. I guess the only thing where I'm at right now is that, considering I haven't played Trident in a few months now, I'd say that having to leech raids without a certain set amount of time I have to spend,
Hmm.
it's safe to say that this has kind of made me quit the account for now. I'm not sure if I'll get back to it at some point, but for now, it's just a very big roadblock for me, and it's killed a lot of the motivation I still had on the account. Um, I guess mainly because it's so reliant on other people. It ties up another account as well, because I need to eat the food on an alt account to get somewhat decent points. So all in all, it's just a very annoying grind that I can't really keep going. And I guess that's the biggest thing that made me quit the account for now. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah, now obviously, as you just mentioned, you haven't played the account in a while, and we're going to get to what has come after Trident now. But before
Mhm.
we finish talking about Trident, I mean, gosh, there are so many achievements that you have had on that account. Again, you're a maxed account, so you've got 99 magic,
Mhm.
99 defense, 99 hit points, 99 slayer. What about prayer? What was the prayer level?
I think it was around like level 80 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I was planning on probably doing pest control to finish off 99 prayer, but
Hmm.
um, that was gonna be like way down the line.
Sure.
Probably one of the last skills I would level up.
Hmm. Now, again, being a Mage Only Iron Man, PVM to me, just like end game bossing, is would almost be unfathomable to me because ranged is so powerful this day and age, and melee is quite strong too. It's like you never really bring magic to most bosses aside from raids,
Yep.
or Kraken. So talk to me about some of the PVM things that you've achieved. Bosses you've killed, or pets or items that you've obtained. Talk to me about some of the craziest moments there.
Yeah, so probably like a few really big grinds that I had to do was to get certain best in slot items on my account.
Hmm.
So to start off with, like I wanted to get a Sears ring fairly early on.
Hmm.
I mean, I say fairly early on, but I had like probably 90 defense and 90 hit points or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, killing the Dagnot Prime with just a trident to get the Sears ring was pretty rough.
Yeah.
I'd say
That does
my
not compute.
yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
So
How long would a prime kill take you on average? Do you think?
yeah, so my trips probably lasted around 1 hour, and I got probably 4 to 5 kills each trip.
Wow, that is
Um,
awful.
and
That
that
is
was
so bad.
using brews and super restores as well every time. So yeah, that was pretty rough. Probably one of the most absurd things people saw me doing ever.
Yeah,
um,
that is unbelievable. But talk about some of your success at some other bosses, like Jad and Cerberus come to mind.
yeah, so Jet wasn't even too hard to be honest. Like I went in the first time with pretty much a very big over preparation.
Hmm.
I took brews and super restores and whatnot, but after like a few attempts, well, a few successful attempts, that is,
Hmm. Hmm.
I was able to do Jet very easily with just bringing like 14 monkfish and 14 prayer potions and having plenty left at
Wow.
the end as well. Um, but yeah, I think my personal best time at Jet was like, I'd say 54 minutes or something. So it's not really too bad.
Yeah, that is not even that bad. Now, on a
Yeah,
scale, comparatively, I'm sure that you've probably done plenty of fight caves attempts with just range, and I don't know if you've done a melee only attempt before, but like just
I
in
don't think
comparison,
so. No.
just in comparison to range, though, how much more difficult would you say that a magic only run is at the fight caves?
Honestly, with the setup I had, it wasn't really that much different to the range method
Mm-hmm.
because I pretty much did the same thing I would do on my main account. It's just that, yeah, it took longer to hit. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much the only difference. Wasn't really harder at all.
Now, again, Cerberus, I know this because I will never forget this moment when you
Yeah.
told me when this happened. Talk to me about your Cerberus luck on Trident.
Yeah, so well, first of all, the Cerberus grind was definitely a rough one.
Right. Again, it's like who
With
uses magic at Cerberus? Nobody.
yeah,
I've never seen
so
anyone mage there before.
I'm pretty sure every kill took me about 7 to 8 minutes, and I could only do one kill each trip. And
Wow.
I was calculating stuff for a while just to see how much supplies I would need to eventually get the Eternal Crystal, because obviously that was the thing I was going for to upgrade my Infinity boots. And the average kill took me like 11 sharks, over 100 trident charges, and around
Wow.
15 potion doses, so either prayer or super restore. And it took me 673 kills in total, I believe, to get the Eternal Crystal. Now, before I got that one, I did get pretty lucky on other stuff as well. I think it was kill count 273 when I
Ah,
actually
classic.
got the yeah the double 73 as well. Um, but yeah, that was when I got my first petrol as well as the Pegasian crystal. So on the same kill, I got the pet plus the Pegasian crystal.
Wow.
And I believe that
What are the odds of that?
I'm pretty sure it's about 1 in 1.5 million, so pretty
Wow.
lucky on that one.
That's unimaginable. And I mean,
Yep.
what an appropriate reward too for such a beast account.
If only that was the Eternal Crystal, that would have made it
That would have
a
been
perfect
just
moment.
yeah, that would have been so epic. But I mean, still a great moment. But you said that was your first pet role, so you had multiple at Cerberus.
Yeah. So before I got my Eternal Crystal, I also got another pet. I'm not sure when it was. I think around 500 kill count or something. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
And then a few other crystal. I never got a Primordial Crystal. That's the only drop I never got from Cerberus, but
Wow.
don't really need it. So
Yeah,
definitely not
yeah.
going back there.
Fair play. Honestly, though, that's awful for me to hear because since I have not approached the Cerberus grind with any seriousness on Caveman, to hear
Mhm.
you say that you've done like multiple hundreds of kills and no primordial crystal just makes me die a little bit on the inside. But
Yeah,
anyway,
look at Mr. Mammal. I mean,
I know.
if you're
Yeah, it's
unlucky.
just
Yeah.
that is my biggest fear by far is just going
Yep.
dry on the primordial crystal at Cerberus because that boss is not fun, folks. At least it's not fun for me.
Yeah. I was really happy getting the Eternal Crystal as well because I was absolutely dry on prayer potions. I pretty much had to like do a few kills here and there whenever I had some Renar seeds or Snapdragon seeds because yeah, I was absolutely dry from those.
Hmm. What was your most prized moment on Trident? Out of it could be a level, it could be an item, it could be a pet, anything. What's your most prized thing about your mage only?
Well, probably when I got the 99 Slayer.
Yeah.
Um,
How many hours
then
for
again,
99 Slayer do you think? Ballpark.
I'd say around 1,200. So I think
Okay.
you might have expected more, but
Yeah, I was
yeah, that's pretty
expecting
much
probably
it.
closer like the 2000 ballpark, but honestly, I guess
Yeah,
that's not even that bad.
yeah. Basically, once I got the Trident, most tasks I did was around 10k XP an hour. But some tasks like Necreals or Abbey Demons,
Hmm.
they have like zero mage defense. So
Yeah.
I was averaging about 15k XP an hour at those. So definitely at the higher levels, it was pretty decent XP per hour.
Okay, that's not too bad. Also, I love how we both just kind of casually said, "Oh yeah, 1200 hours. That's a drop in the bucket." Like I guess that's how you know we
Yeah,
both play old school RuneScape.
exactly.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we've talked a lot about Trident and some of the just amazing accomplishments you've had on that account. But then, as you said, going for raids and kind of leeching to try and get some ancestral pieces to finish off your best in slot content has sort of burned you out. So you haven't
Mhm.
touched that account in a while. So what has been your main project lately?
Yeah, so my main focus for like the past few months has been my Zeah Only Ironman landmass, and I pretty much started this I think about 2 years ago in October. I saw Sherlockness; he was streaming a lot at the time, and he
Mm-hmm.
was playing his Zeah Only Ironman. And then I also saw Zeah Product sharing some of his progress.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's when I saw him get 99 Hunter that really intrigued me into also trying it out. So I actually started this account as a level 3 skiller as well. So
Uh-huh.
I kind of wanted to do it a little bit different because there were already a few Zeah only Ironman out there. So I thought to give a little spin on it and be a level 3 skiller.
Mhm.
So
And again, just for context for the listeners at home, around what
mhm.
time was this in 2016?
2017 actually
Oh,
in October.
2017. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So I started the account sort of as a side project when playing other accounts. So I did some AFKing. I fished like 30k lobsters or something at the start. Um, and then eventually, when I got to the agility grind, is when I decided to stop being a level 3 because
Mm-hmm.
I was doing toy mice until around level 45 agility, I think. And at the time, Sherlockness and I'm pretty sure some others there on the Ironman as well, they decided to get a barbarian fishing rod so that they could go barb fishing near raids.
Ah,
Um,
yes, exception only Iron Man, my
yes,
favorite.
the exceptions came in then.
Uh-huh. We'll talk about
So
that in a
yeah,
minute.
eventually I caved in as well and got myself a barb rod as well. And that's pretty much when I stopped being a level 3 skiller on that account.
And a Zeah only Iron Man too.
Well, yeah,
Just
Zaya
kidding.
mostly, I guess.
Who am I to talk, right? It's like anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, let's go here for a moment. You talked about Sherlock and Iron Product
Mhm.
leaving the continent of Zeah to go and pick up a barbarian fishing rod to be able to train fishing and agility. Talk about some of the exceptions that your average Zeah Iron Man makes and which exceptions on your Zeah only you chose to make or to not make.
Yeah, so I guess the standard exception that pretty much every restricted Ironman makes is to do Druidic Ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Now, basically, when I started the account, Sherlockness and Product sort of laid out a certain rule set to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those rules was to get all of the meat for Druidic Ritual on Zeah. So that's what I did as well. And that was pretty rough, to be honest, because, like I said, I started as a level 3 account. And I managed to kill the bear cub for the bear meat on Zeah. And that took me like 30 minutes, I think. So that was
Wow.
quite a battle. But other than that, I wasn't planning to make any other exceptions at the start of the account. Like I said, later on when I caved in, I got the barbarian fishing rod as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much a standard exception nowadays for people that start a new Zeah only Ironman. Although many people also choose to get enough pearls from aerial fishing now in order to get the wieldable barb fishing rod. So that sort of ties in more with the Zeah only mindset.
Sure.
But you still have to go to Otto at the Barbarian Assault to unlock it. So you still have to make an exception to unlock that fishing rod. Now, other than that, I also got myself a skill cape once I got 99 fire making. And I also plan to get other skill capes once I get other 99s. I touched on this before in one of my YouTube videos. I think it was episode 2, so pretty early on. I asked the people what they thought about me actually dropping the skill cape and not getting others. But the most responses were pretty positive towards just keeping it. Some
Mm-hmm.
were saying like get the skill capes but don't use the benefits they give. So I'm not sure yet what I want to do with that because obviously the fire making skill cape doesn't really do anything for my account.
Right.
But for example, the farming skill cape, which might be the next 99 I'll be getting,
Mm-hmm.
that would actually help a lot with the teleport to the farming guild. So I'll have to reconsider how I want to go about it. But we'll see when we get there. And then one final exception is that I also did Eagle Speak to re-unlock box traps because at a certain point they made a change towards bot prevention
Yep.
where you needed to do Eagle Speak up until a certain point, basically like the end of the quest but not finishing it, to unlock the possibility of using box traps. And considering at the time there wasn't any information yet about the Kibbles lowlands, and other Zeah only Ironman already got like 90, 99 hunter even on chins. That's when I decided to go ahead and do the quest to re-unlock those traps. Now, I haven't actually used them ever since, and with the Kebbles Lowlands release, with the aerial fishing method, I pretty much decided that I want to fully complete aerial fishing before using any box traps or catching any chinchompas. So that's pretty much the route I took.
I think I find it interesting the Eagles Peak quest there because I do recall quite fondly that update that they had that was an integrity update meant to curb some Chinchompa bots because I was affected by that update as well on Caveman when that same kind of batch of updates was rolled out and they changed the way anti-fire potion mechanics worked.
Yeah, that's the same for me as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's another side effect for you too. But I just find it interesting that you decided at that point to go ahead and start the quest so you could continue to have access. Because some people have advocated for me to go ahead and start Dragon Slayer so I could regain access to having them as a Slayer task and to have a greater likelihood of killing brutal dragons in KBD without having to like bring in an entire inventory of brews and restores to kill dragons, which would be the case now. But I don't know. I decided to take a different path and to not go and do that. I guess it'd be a bit more involved because I would need an additional like dozen quest points and stuff. But I don't know. I just found that that interesting. But yeah, so there's a pretty standard format for the Zeah only Ironman these days. And again, I was like you. I watched Sherlock and his live streams of his Zeah only back in the day when he had first begun. And so the area only community has been around much longer than I've been around. And, I know that some people out there consider me kind of a veteran or like one of the guys who started it all. But honestly, I was kind of late to the party. So that was then. This is now. So what does the Zeah Ironman community look like now? Like how many of you are out there? Approximately, of course.
Oh, I I don't even know. Especially when the Kebbles release came out. pretty much on the daily, we would see new Zeah only Ironman appear in the CC as well. And even coming across them randomly on Zeah, just right clicking someone and they were called, Zeah capture or whatever,
Yeah,
Zeah in their name. Um,
it's like the new Iron Man, it's
yeah,
like the
yeah,
new cool
pretty
thing
much.
to have, Iron or FE in your name. It's like now you have Zeah in your name to
Yeah,
prove who you
exactly.
are.
There's loads of them. But yeah, I don't mind. I mean, it's nice to see new faces.
Yeah. So I mean, how many are we talking? Are we talking like a dozen, couple dozen, 100?
Um, well, let's say this. We have the Zeah Ironman CC that product made a long time ago, and basically at all times there's pretty much between 5 and 15 people online, out of which probably 80% are Zeah only. Um, so I'd say in total there's probably close to over 100 Zeah only Ironman now.
Yeah, that
I
is
can't say that I
unbelievable.
can't say that for certain, but I mean I've seen so many now. I lost track of, of how many there are.
Of course, yeah. I mean, heck, I've only had maybe half a dozen people start like an underground Ironman in my sort of same spirit, and it's hard to keep up with half a
Mhm.
dozen names, but 100 or more on average, that's unbelievable. Now,
Yeah.
Zeah really stands out in that regard because, it's not like there's a million of every other type of area restricted Ironman popping up these days. Zeah is
Mhm.
particularly popular in the community and in the Snowflake community. So why do you think that is?
Well, like I touched on before as well, I think the Kebbles release really brought in a lot of people,
Hmm.
because they thought it was something new, and that really opened up that possibility for most. Um, but I think also just in general that Zeah is the most viable area to sort of restrict yourself to and still be able to do most stuff in the game.
Hmm.
You can pretty much train every skill in a pretty reliable way, and you have some end goals in that. You can go for a Dragon Warhammer, you can do raids, stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
think it's appealing that it's not too far from regular gameplay, but it's still somewhat restrictive.
Yeah, and it's all kind of like brand new too, and that's obviously the
Mhm.
landmass that's no pun intended. Uh,
Yeah.
um, it's the landmass that's being continually updated, and now you mentioned that you can pretty much train most skills, but what's an example of a skill that is not so feasible to train on Zeah?
Well, the one big skill is Slayer, and that's pretty much a hot topic right now within all of these only Ironman.
Hmm.
Um, because there's not really a set way to go about it right now.
Right, and
The
we're
way
speaking
the
about
way
Konar
I
Slayer, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
with the new
So
Kebos Lowlands update.
yep, the way I look at it is that you can go to Konar, but if the task you get isn't on Zeah, you're pretty much shit out of luck. That's the way I see it. It's always been that way. I mean, before the update, Zeah didn't have Slayer either, and no one really batted an eye about it. But right now, a lot of people that make a Zeah only Iron Man, that's pretty much the first thing they ask is, how do we go about Slayer? And there's a real divide on that one. Some people are agreeing with the way I go about it, and just fully restraining themselves from Slayer unless they get lucky on a Zeah task. While others are also choosing to do Konar tasks on the mainland, but simply not picking up any drops or only the brimstone keys. And then there's also a group that decided to go about it a little bit differently. Each has their own rules a little bit. Some are doing tutorial skips, and if they are possible on Zeah, they do it on Zeah. Some are also even counting the Slayer XP they do on the mainland through tutorial, and then sort of taking it away from their total Slayer XP to see what level they really have.
Huh.
Um,
Interesting.
so sort of delaying what they unlock even if they have the level. But yeah, I think the real way to go about it is still fully restraining yourself, because otherwise you're basically unlocking a full skill through training on the mainland actively. It's not something you just do once and then you unlock something on Zeah. It's something you're doing, constantly. Um, I don't really think that fits the area restricted mindset a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. But that's the beauty of Snowflakes at the end of the day is that
oh
there
yeah,
can be 100
absolutely.
different Zeah only Iron Men, and to an outsider they kind of look all the same. But everyone kind of has their own flavor of that, and that's cool. It's like there's
Mhm.
no one right or wrong way to do it. As you said when you started, you had some inspirations, and I'm sure many people use you as an inspiration now for their Zeah startup accounts, and that's cool.
Mhm.
So you can have your opinion, someone else can have another opinion. At the end of the day, it's still the same community, and you still are out there supporting each other. I hope. I think.
I just like to think them as Zeah mostlies, not Zeah onlys.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Zeah mostly, Caveman mostly. It's all the same.
Because it's not just Slayer that they unlock in a way that they get better weapons. They also unlock different stuff like right now the best in slot range gear for me is like a red DI'd body with blue DI'd chaps and red DI'd fem braces, I think. But if you're gonna do Slayer, you unlock brutal black dragons, and you can get black DI'd body and fem braces. So stuff like that. It unlocks a lot of things, and also something a little more obscure, I guess, is that right now the only way to get Wines of Zamorak is through Tide Farm and then grape farming. So you have to get the blessings from Tide Farm and the grape seeds, and then grow the Zamorakian grapes yourself. But for that you need a Zamorak item, and that's not available on Zeah unless you get very lucky from a clue scroll or a lucky impling. So through training Slayer, eventually you unlock Necrials, and they drop Zamorak wines on Zeah.
Oh.
So stuff like that, it unlocks a lot of different things that I don't really like.
Yeah, it sounds like a slippery slope, and I think it's up for debate as to if you're trying to be a content creator and push your content. You could argue that you have a weaker argument and your account's less exciting the more exceptions you make, because again, that does sound like a bit of a slippery slope. But if your goal isn't to publish content and try and impress people by the way you choose to play a 20-year-old medieval children's clicking simulator, and you just want to do your own thing, then more power to you. So
absolutely.
That's just the beauty of this stuff.
I also mentioned this topic in one of my previous videos, and the comments were also a bit divided in a similar way, where one person was saying, you can do Slayer and skip with Turiel if you don't have the points to skip, and that got a lot of upvotes. But then someone else that mentioned, don't do it because you're a Zeah only Ironman, and that also got a lot of likes. So there's a divide in the entire community, I think, on that.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and,
like you said, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's just what you prefer yourself, I guess.
Right, and I will say this until the day that I retire from my hopefully long and sustained RuneScape career, that as long as you play the way that you enjoy it most, like, who gives a shit what other people think, honestly, Like, you have to enjoy what you're doing first, and then if you want to, try and impress people and get some, free Reddit karma once in a while, that's fine too, but...
Yep, I agree.
Now, here's an interesting topic of discussion, I think, about just Zeah in general and how that affects your planning process. Because for most other areas, take Mauritania, for example, and, Mr. Settled in Swampletics, Mauritania got the Theater of Blood and Sleep recently, but that's probably going to be like the last bit of Mauritania content we're going to see come to that area for a while. Like, it's not constantly evolving and changing with new content and different updates and landscape changes. So it's pretty predictable to figure out, like, if you're Swampletics and you're settled, how to get from grinding your 15 agility at the bridge at the nature altar to getting to Theater of Blood. Like, it's pretty predictable, and you can sit and plan it out because it's pretty static. But Zeah is such a dynamic piece of content with updates happening left and right, and Kebos was just released in January, and we have the Hasidius rework coming up pretty soon. I think in the next couple of weeks, perhaps. And then, in the past, you've had Chambers of Zarek, and you've had Wintertodt and the Catacombs. It's like, as you're sitting there trying to plan a Zeah only Ironman, how do all of these dynamic changes and additions to content and stuff, how does that affect your account trajectory?
Yeah, I don't really plan ahead too much because of things like that. When I originally started, and somewhat down the line, I started going for 200 mil fire making. But with the recent Kebos release, that sort of changes things. Because I was mainly doing Wintertodt for all of the rewards, of course, and two big skills that I was gonna get through those rewards were farming and herblore. But with the farming guild mainly, that really changed a lot about those skills. It made it a lot easier to get herblore and farming levels, especially with the farming contracts. Those are pretty overpowered.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, they're just absolutely busted, but I don't mind for now.
Right,
So,
yeah, you abuse it and lose it. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, things like that really do change the account trajectory a lot. But I don't really take them into account too much ahead of time.
Okay.
There's been talks about Farlamore as well, which will be an area south of Raids,
Hmm.
which will be added at some point in the future. And I think Mod West alluded to a
A
Hunters
hunting
Guild.
guild? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've seen that, and
So
that looks
I'm not
absolutely
sure what
incredible.
that will entail, but I think that'll be interesting. But yeah, not really gonna change anything um, as far as my plans go. The only thing I'm sort of holding off to is training Hunter for Implings, because I talked to Mod West a little bit ago on Twitter about the possibility of a crop circle spawning in the wheat fields in Hosidius.
Oh, that would
Um,
be huge for you, Zeah guys.
yeah, because right now, I mean, there's Implings on Zeah, there's Fairy Rings on Zeah, but there's never the possibility of a crop circle spawning, which I think is a bit consistent, even though I might be a bit
Modash,
biased
are you
towards
listening?
having it. So yeah, I talked to West about it, and he said he might look into adding it. So I'm sort of waiting on the Hosidius rework to see if there will be any crop circles in the vicinity.
Sure, okay.
And
That's actually one of the questions I was going to ask is I always like to ask
yeah.
about like what simple changes would greatly impact your account. So for example, Verf, who will be on the next podcast
Mhm.
episode by the way, with his Karamja Only Ultimate Ironman, he had a few pretty critical updates recently that were really simple, just like adding plant pots to the tulip, or not the tulip leprechauns, but the farming attendants, whatever you call them. I haven't farmed on the surface in so long, I forgot what they're called. um, and the teasing stick spawn on the shore by
Mhm.
the Grax for him to train Hunter in the future. Are there any like
Yeah.
small changes like that? I guess the crop circle would be a big one like that. But any other like small item changes that would also kind of impact the Zeah meta?
I'm not sure if any items would really change anything. But one of the other big things that will change some metas a lot is the Osidious dungeon. Mainly the
Yeah, yeah.
tenor that will be found within it. If they go through with the plans they made at the
That would
first.
be critical for a lot of different accounts.
Yeah.
If you haven't read the Hasidius update blog and the changes that they've proposed to make to Hasidius with this new dungeon, I will put a link below in the description so you can check it out. But there's some pretty OP stuff that's going to be proposed for this dungeon. So give us kind of just a rundown of some of the things that you can remember off the top of your head about this thing.
Yeah, so the tenor would basically change the range gear best in slots from, like I said before, the red DI body, Vambraces, and the blue DI chaps. And no head bees, by the way. We have nothing.
Yep.
um, with the tenor, we would get full black DI with a coif, I believe, as the best in slot. So that would really change things a lot. Also, one of the things they mentioned was a red spider boss sort of thing in the dungeon. Um, Now, I'm not sure what the boss will give or if it'll be anything interesting, but the main interesting thing about that is that there will be red spiders around, which usually also means a red spider X spawn. Um, and right now, we don't have any secondaries for snapdragons, but with the red spider X, we would be able
Oh,
to make super
interesting. You could
restores.
make your own
So that would
super
be a big
restores.
game
Wow.
changer. Yeah, and I've been
Yeah.
sitting on that for a while because they mentioned getting the Osidious rework out like months ago.
Yeah.
So I was sort of farming Snapdragons ahead of time, hoping they would come out with the Red Spider X. But now I've been sitting on like 1,000 Snapdragons in my bank for a long time, and no Red Spider X to be seen
Okay,
yet.
I see. Yeah, but that Hasidius dungeon, unfortunately, so again, this Hasidius update, I think is supposed to, it's already passed a poll for the most part, except for this dungeon we're talking about. They did not poll the specifics of this dungeon, so that will not be released
Hmm.
soon.
Yeah.
But that would be also huge for me. And even like Ultimate Iron Man, because apparently there's supposed to be like an altar down there as well, and red dragons, where basically the
Hmm.
gameplay loop would be you kill the red dragons, you take the hide, you take it to the underground tanner, who's right down there, to tan the hide, bring needle and thread with you, craft the leather, alk it, or do whatever, or make new
Yep.
best in slot equipment if you're you or me, and
Yeah.
then take the dragon bones to the altar down there. That's effectively like a budget gilded altar.
Hmm.
So it could be really really impactful for a lot of accounts.
Yeah, I can't wait to start my Hosidious dungeon only hardcore
Yeah,
Ironman.
seriously, I can't wait to start my underground only Hasidius Dungeon Iron Man.
Yeah.
um, How about these new quests that are coming to Zeah? First of all, are you able to do all of the quests? Because not having done a quest on RuneScape in the last 2 years or so, I haven't participated in like most of this Zeah content that we're speaking about. So like even
Mhm.
even something like Wintertodt, for example, surprisingly enough, I've never been there. And all of these new Zeah quests that are popping up and everything, I have never participated in any of this content. So have the new
Right.
quests added anything of substance? And do you are you into that lore at all?
I don't think they really changed anything other than like the first quests that were added. Mainly the Queen of Thieves was a pretty big one because it unlocked the fishing store in the Warrens, which is like below Piscarilius if you don't know.
Hmm.
Um, and that unlocked the feather packs. So before that, the only way to get feathers was from chickens, I believe, and that really changed fishing a lot and stuff like that. So that was a pretty big change. But other than that, I don't think any of the quests really do much for our accounts. Um, Matter of fact, I haven't really done any of the latest quests. I still have
Really?
to go ahead and do them. Yeah,
I find that kind of
I mean,
surprising. Just like being a Zeah only, I feel like I would get
yeah.
excited by a new quest coming that I was actually able to do, and even if it's just like meager amounts of XP or GP or whatever.
Hmm.
I don't know. I would feel kind of spoiled because I over
Yeah, I
here
mean
haven't had
they
a quest to do in
they don't
ages.
really any rewards that are interesting for me, so I don't really care about lore, so I never went and done them.
Yeah.
Another Zeah only Ironman was also the first to do them, so no chance for me to get on the achievements page anymore on
Sure.
the Zeah only website.
Wow. So there's a Zeah only website too.
Yeah, that's something Iron Product made a long time ago, and he sort of keeps up with it, but considering he's not playing anymore for like a long time now, he's not really that committed to it, but sometimes he makes some updates.
Oh man, product, if you're listening, we miss you. Come back.
Yeah, for sure.
um, that is, I mean, it's just astounding. And I know for a lot of people listening to these podcasts, they may have just, found this Snowflake, RuneScape, Iron Man community, in the last couple of months. But again, just the fact that you folks have your own website for the Zeah only community, like that is mind-boggling. And I think I mean, and that's for me having done this for a couple of years, but like this community has been around for a long time, and I think it's finally just starting to really gain the traction and recognition that it deserves. Speaking of traction and recognition that it deserves, you, Mr. Tedious, first of all, YouTube career is starting to take off. I'm really happy to see it, and so is the account. And you've already started to really achieve some really insane things on Landmass. Your Zeah only here. So, talk to me
Mhm.
about the achievement on Landmass that's given you the most elation so far.
Honestly, I mean, I haven't really gotten to a certain point where I got a really big achievement, 90 rune crafting to unlock soul runes
Oh yeah,
and
just
stuff like that.
minor milestone, 90 rune
Yeah,
crafting on a Zeah only Iron Man, no big
yeah.
deal. Like,
I guess in
okay,
that way,
that's
I guess
fine.
in that way, 77 rune crafting was a pretty big one
Uh huh.
because I bloody hated the Arceus library, and I was really happy to get that over with.
Jeez, yeah. How many
Um,
hours was that approximately for 1 to 77?
I think it was like 70 to 80 hours, so it's not too bad, I guess.
Yeah,
But it's just really mind-boggling content. Like
yeah,
I
sure.
would only be able to do it maybe 1 or 2 hours at a time because I would just space out entirely and just not get any XP anymore. I would just stare at my screen and be like, "Fuck these books, I'm out of here." so so yeah, I was pretty happy getting that over with. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't really. I don't know. I think that the first big one that I'll be very happy about will be the Dragon Warhammer, but I'm
Uh
still
huh.
miles away from that one. Busy getting my range up for those.
Right, right. I mean, gosh, and I mentioned at the beginning that you've got 175 million total experience on your account so far,
Mhm.
but about 120 million of that is fire making from Wintertodt. So, um,
Yep.
why have you been parked there so long, and what are you trying to achieve through doing that?
Well, like I said before as well, Wintertot was a pretty good source of a lot of supplies for different skills. So my plan was to get 200 mil, which would get me like 99 fletching, 90 plus woodcutting, and like bank a lot of skills. I think if I were to farm all of the herb seeds from 200 mil fire making at Wintertot, I would get around I think 84 herb lore with all of the herbs I get. So that was basically like the full macro plan of my account. But like I said, with the farming guild, that pretty much changed it a lot. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I wanted to get all of the supplies through Winter Thought before actually starting combat. So I kept my hit points very low for that entire Winter Thought grind. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that is amazing to me. Again, as somebody who has never done Winter Todd before, first of all, you got to break the mold, folks. You got to break the mold. I'm tired of seeing these 99 fire making, 40 runecrafting accounts. Unless you're a Zeah Iron Man, then it's acceptable. But you gotta break the mold, folks. But anyway, I digress.
Get that rune crafting up.
Yes, please train your runecrafting, folks. It's good for you. He says with one runecrafting. um, but 120 million experience, that just like blows my mind. Now I know there was one particular thing that you were after from Winter Todd, which I believe would be the limestone.
Yes, yeah, I was actually only 108 mil fire making
Oh
XP
right,
when I
yes, only
decided to
108
stop,
mil.
and that's when the 2 limestone showed up as the next big challenge.
Gotcha. Wow. So do you want to talk about that? How like what relevance do 2 limestone bricks have for you?
Yeah, so basically, like the things I needed limestone for my player owned was 3 things actually. I wanted to get a pool, the tier 3 pool, I think it is, which restores stamina and prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I was saving up on stamina potions for a while, carrying a torsal everywhere in order to get stamina potions through Dr. Jekyll. So eventually, when I got those 10 stamina potions, I wanted to make the pool in my player owned house, and I used 4 limestone to build a limestone altar, which is the best we can get because we can't get marble blocks, I think it is. And then I also needed 2 limestone for the portal chamber, for the I'm not sure what it's called, like the centerpiece that you need to like focus your portals towards something.
Right. Yep. I think it's
Um,
actually literally called a portal focus, but I know what you're
oh
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so then I still needed 5 limestone for the pool. Now, throughout my Wintertot grind, I got about, I think, over 200 limestone over time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I always wasted it on just some trivial construction XP because I think they only give 20 XP each or something.
Yep.
So I got a whopping 4K XP from all of those. Um, and then eventually, I ended up needing 2 more limestone to make the pool because I only had 3 left in the bank. So I was like, you know what, no big deal. I'm just gonna go back to Wintertot and get the 2 limestone real quick. The previous ones only took 15 crates, I think, when I needed limestone for the altar and the portal room. So I didn't think much of it. I went back to Wintertot, started going dry, and then very dry. Started to lose my mind. Started to rethink life. Was pretty rough.
As is tradition when you play a Snowflake Iron Man,
Yeah.
constantly rethinking your
So
life and whether it's all worth it.
yeah, so in my last episode, I sort of started that grind, and people are very into feeling sorry for me about it and telling me to just make an exception to go and get the limestone on the mainland. But no spoilers. I don't know if I got them, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll never know. I guess you have to tune in. Subscribe to
yeah,
Tedious.
just find out in the next episode, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Geez, man. Okay, I want to get into talking about the community as a whole here. So again, you've been a member of the Snowflake Iron Man community since before it was known as the Snowflake community.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on the growth of the community as a whole in the last half a year?
I mean, I'm pretty excited for the growth. It's nice to see like bigger content creators get into the things and sort of mangle into our little community that we had before. Um, Even though I also liked being this somewhat underground movement before, no pun intended. Um, but yeah, it's nice to see an increase of interest in this sort of different play style, I guess. Which was inevitable, I'd say. You've been saying this for a long time. 2019 year of the snowflake and all that.
Yep, you heard it here
Um,
first, folks.
yeah. But that being said, it's also a bit of a double-edged sword, I feel like,
hmm
as it also introduces people that might take it in a poor spin, putting others in a bad spotlight. But at the end of the day, I think it's a good thing. I just hope it doesn't come to like a point where certain builds get pushed into an official mode again.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
would
think
agree. I would.
Zeah only would probably be the first on the list there, and I really don't want to see that happening because I've already had an unofficial Ironman ruined because of the official release.
Right,
And
yeah.
funny enough, at the time we were really against it. We had some high-level unofficial Ironman in the Iron Foe CC at the time,
Hmm.
and we really didn't want the official mode to come out, because it pretty much made all of us quit the accounts. So yeah, I don't really want to see that happening again, and I really hope they don't make any more official modes like that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That I think that I don't know. I mean, I think that it worked out okay for Iron Man mode because it was
Mhm.
painting with a
Oh
broad
yeah,
enough
for sure.
brush that I think it worked in the end. But I
I'm
think
pretty sure
that
like nowadays the most people playing old school are Iron Man actually. I'm not sure.
yeah, I
Um,
really wish they'd release statistics on that.
but really
Um,
like I'm pretty sure the percentage is really high.
yeah, I mean, it might not be a majority, but I think it's certainly a sizable, like probably over a third of the
Mhm.
active player base, at least playing Iron Man.
Yeah, probably.
Um, yeah, I'm right there with you that I wouldn't want to see area restricted you know, official gameplay. You know, that'd be like making, I don't know, like endorsing one defense pures as like an official way to play the game. It's like, it's never been that way. It's like it's an
Yeah.
arbitrary choice that you choose to limit yourself, insert phrase here. Um, and I think that just officiating it makes it first of all kind of more arbitrary because where would you draw those particular lines?
Yeah, they would
And
have to like hard code in certain rule sets for
right,
those
yeah, and it's like
account
that.
types.
That's even more arbitrary than just when an individual making it up. In my mind,
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
and
the
we
main
all
the main beauty of it is that it's all a self-composed restriction, I guess.
yeah, that's the whole fun of it is that it's a choose your own adventure, kind of sandbox playstyle, and I think that's what's so attractive is that again, I don't like to paint with broad strokes like this because it's not true for everyone, but I think it's true on the whole that the snowflake movement is kind of like an anti-efficiency movement. And again, there are individuals who might enjoy playing macro and micro efficiently to the extent that they can on their particular snowflake. But the whole point is to kind of just break the mold and do your own thing. And especially when Iron Man mode came out, the meta for doing that became like solidified. It's like you go smash out your graceful, as you were talking about on your
Yeah,
ultimate when you
yeah,
started. You smash out the
yeah.
graceful. Now that Winter Todd's a thing, then you go smash out Winter Todd, and then you go and camp at the pond for a
Barb
while.
fishing,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like it's the whole same routine. It's like, especially as a content creator, it's like that doesn't cut it anymore. The
Yeah.
standard of excellence in the content creation community in particular has definitely been raised in the last 12 months. But
Mhm.
just it's like, what fun is that? It's like the whole point of an open world MMO is that you go and like choose your own adventure and do your own thing rather than just listening to what people are telling you the right way to play the game is. And so I don't know. I just think that's the beauty of this whole Snowflake community. And again, I'm just constantly astounded by how it's growing, and it doesn't really seem like it's slowing down. It's like I see more people hopping on the bandwagon, big content creators too, as
Yep.
time goes on. We talk about the past, and how the community has grown in the last 6 months, but where do you see the community in 6 months' time?
I'm not really sure. I'm not really that good at planning ahead or like envisioning how things will end up being. But I think like right now it's sort of getting oversaturated in a way that people come up with really weird stuff
Uh huh.
that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think more big content creators will jump on it, because everyone has seen high level rates and whatever now. I think people do want this sort of new thing, which is really visible with Settled series. It's taken like the entire gaming community almost by storm,
Yeah.
not only RuneScape. Um, so I think it's definitely something people are really eager to be a part of, and I think it'll keep growing. But I'm not sure what will be the situation if in a few months from now.
Yeah, and I'm not clairvoyant either. I think it's hard to predict. I do definitely agree with you that at the moment, I think we're kind of we're kind of on a bubble in the community.
Mhm.
That, as you mentioned, community is super saturated, and not just with accounts being created, but we're talking about like progress videos being made.
Oh yeah.
We're in a time now where it's like everyone has a YouTube channel, and
Mhm.
frankly, I
And
mean,
everyone is shouting like, "Come see what I do and tell me what I should improve on." And let me
Right.
know if I'm doing it okay and whatever.
Right. And
They're
there's also
very eager
right.
on getting like opinions from others in how
Yeah.
to play rather than just doing whatever they feel like doing, I
Yeah,
guess.
and I think that that's exactly it. That I think it's a dichotomy between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. For those
Mhm.
of us who have been around for a long time and have been in it, doing it for a while, before this community really blew up in the last few months, it was mostly an intrinsically motivated thing. I think that we were doing it because we enjoyed doing it, and if we happen to make progress logs or videos, a few people enjoyed those as well, and it's grown over time, and that's great. But I think that there are
Mhm.
a lot of people that are kind of trying to get in on the ground floor right now and posting content online with the hopes that they're going to cut through the saturation and make it and make something out of this. But I think that,
Mhm.
and again, I hate to paint with broad strokes, but I think that a lot of people who are coming into the community are unfortunately not in it for all the right reasons.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that.
and so I think that 6 months down the line, I think that we will kind of have seen the Snowflake community plateau, if not decline a little bit and dwindle. Because I do think that I would imagine probably towards the end of this year, we'll see more talks and an official statements about Group Ironman becoming a thing.
Oh
And
yeah, that's
so
true. Yep.
to me, I think the Snowflake thing, at least for many people, maybe not for us, because I don't know, this is kind of just what we do now, play these crazy arbitrary accounts. But I think that this is just kind of the fad that's filling the void between official game modes. Um, and so we'll just kind of see where it goes in 6 months. But I'm still looking
Yep.
forward to it. I'm still going to be here in 6 months. I know you will be too, because
Oh
you
yeah,
you
for
bring
sure.
some serious gamer energy to the table, man.
I'm
Um,
committed to this gig.
Dude, it's like my life mantra these days. It's like once you find old school RuneScape, you're here forever, so you might as well find a way to enjoy it. That's the mantra.
Yep.
One final question for you, because I wonder this myself all the time too, and I know the answer for me, but I'm going to ask it to you.
Mhm.
Does playing a restricted Iron Man lessen the enjoyment you get out of playing other accounts, like normal, regular main accounts?
Well, I'd say the reason I started these restricted accounts was due to me not finding that enjoyment. So
Yeah.
it's not really a direct reason towards it. It's more like a result.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think having played these accounts for a while now, I'm pretty sure it's further lessened my interest in like playing a normal account.
Yeah, I
So
don't
when
know. I couldn't fathom playing a normal account anymore. It just like
yeah,
you just
so
walk up to freaking Walmart to the GE and just buy your stuff and
exactly.
like get
Like
like what fun is that?
everything is just about either making money or spending money. Like you're
Mhm.
not doing raids to get an item, you're doing raids to make money. You're not skilling to like unlock a certain thing, you're just skilling for XP, which will either cost you money or make you money. And that's
Yeah,
basically all there is to it. And that's pretty
man.
boring to me.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's honestly really sad when you boil it down to just those simple terms because it honestly, I mean, not to get all real here on you folks, but I mean that's kind of like the way a lot of people live life too, right? Is that like you just have a job and the job is all about making money and you just go to work so you can make money and you do things in your spare time that either cost you money or make you money and it's just like all about work and making money to just like do things. But I don't know. I
That's
think
true.
that um again, without trying to go all existential, that I think that there's more to it than that.
Getting
That
real woke over here.
oh yeah, yeah, super super woke underground
Yeah.
RuneScape podcast right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's more to it than that, man. It's so much more about the journey rather than the destination, and I think that that's
Mhm.
I think that again, this Snowflake community is almost like a symptom of a greater like underlying cause, which I think is kind of just like that urge, and especially just with our generation of people that I think we're just kind of learning. Again, broad strokes. We're learning that I think there's a bit more to life than just the destination.
Mhm.
And with a normal RuneScape account, you just like make money to buy stuff. Uh, and
Yeah,
I don't
pretty
know.
much.
The Snowflake experience is just all about the process, all about the journey.
Yeah, and like
Um,
setting new challenges that you never would have done before and experiencing new things, I guess.
yeah, setting your own limits, setting your own pace, breaking your own boundaries and what you thought was possible. Yeah, really, 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 just great community. And again, I'm continually flattered by the community, just on and how it's grown and how involved everyone is. And I know that just the RuneScape community in general, the old school community, is it's pretty unique in the sense that like so many people support each other, and so many people have been playing this game for so long that it's a very like interdependent community, but especially so in the Snowflake community. And I absolutely love it. It's one of my, it is my favorite thing about RuneScape and what it has done for me in my life personally. And that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast series, because it's another, community building exercise, just getting to talk to my, my fellow arbitrary friends out there, and getting, to spread the word and the gospel about other people, and hopefully being able to work together with some people, too, going forward. So, speaking of which, it's about time to wrap up, man. So hit me with the social media plugs. What is the best way to reach you out there on the World Wide Web?
Well, I'm mostly active on Twitter at I'm Tedious.
Ah, yes. Big Twitter clout, folks.
Yeah.
Definitely give the man a follow.
That's probably the best place to reach out on me. I guess also Discord DMs, but I mean, Twitter is easier to like have out in the open like that.
And what's the Twitter handle?
I'm Tedious.
Gotcha.
I've also been uploading fairly frequently on YouTube recently, and the channel is called Tedious, or you can go to the URL found on my Twitter as well, which is youtube.com/tediousrs. And I'd love to say I also stream on twitch.com/tedious, but /I'm Tedious, but unfortunately that hasn't really been the case for a while
listen,
now,
man,
so.
you are part of my stream team, and I think I'm gonna have to put you on probation for
I'm gonna
being...
get the boot real quick.
yeah. Anyway, speaking of the boot, let's get out of here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your morning for this interview, man. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
The man is Tedious. All of his social media links and stuff will be down below in the description for you to scope out. Very talented gamer and content creator. Definitely recommend you checking him out. Tedious, again, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you've enjoyed this rendition of the Snowflake Spotlight. On the next podcast, I'll be interviewing a crowd favorite among the Snowflake community, Mr. UIM Verf and his Karamja Only Ultimate Ironman. Post your questions you may have for Verf below in the comments, and you could have your question answered on the next episode. If you need more Snowflake Ironman content in your life and can't wait for the next episode, be sure to check out the link below in the description to our subreddit, Our Unique Ironmen, the central hub for all things Snowflake Ironman related. The Snowflake Spotlight is a podcast series hosted by me, Caveman Only, right here on my YouTube channel every other Friday. I'd like to thank Tedious for taking time out of his day for this interview, to IG Designs for his beautiful background artwork, to you, the listener, for your support and making it this far, and, as always, to OSRS bestinslot.com for sponsoring this podcast. OSRS bestinslot.com is a growing platform for all things PVM and gear related. Whether you're a noob or a RuneScape veteran, I can guarantee you that there will be something useful for everyone. Think of it like the RuneScape wiki basically, but cooler and with better tools, and embedded guide videos. And although the site has some great information and resources, as I've said before, this is a tool to inform you on how to be like the best, not on how to be the best. The site is still undergoing some behind-the-scenes reconstruction alongside another member of the RuneScape community, and the entire website overhaul is on the horizon and due to be released soon, TM. So head on over to osrsbestinslot.com and check it out for yourself. And again, if you forget what the website is, literally Google anything relating to OSRS and gear, and that'll work too. And that's all I'm getting paid for, so it's time to wrap this thing up. Thank you again for listening. I'll see you next time.